Hey, this is Kat Martin from catmartinartist.com, and you're listening to the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Welcome to the I Am Salt Lake podcast. This is episode 61. My name is Chris Hollifield. I am the host. Welcome to my show. Welcome to another episode of introducing you to somebody in Salt Lake City who is doing some cool things. I got a great interview episode for you with Steve Soelberg, a local Salt Lake City comedian. Before I do jump into that, though, I want to let you guys know, if you're listening to this before 9 o'clock Mountain Time on the 22nd of April, that's a Monday. If you're listening to this, be sure to tune in to theawkwardhour.com. It's another local Salt Lake City podcast that I'm going to be on. It streams live on Ustream, so you can watch it there at theawkwardhour.com, 9 to 11 p.m. Mountain Time. So make sure you check that out, because I'm sure things are going to be awkward with Brian and myself. And it should be a good time. So make sure to tune into that. Also, IamSaltLake.com is the website for this podcast, where you can find all the previous shows. You can find all the previous episodes to listen to those. I got links for iTunes as well as Stitcher Radio, voicemail, email. It's all on the website. Get in touch with me. Like I mentioned, Steve Soelberg is the guest on this episode. He is a local Salt Lake City stand-up comedian. He's got a couple shows coming up at Wise Guys, May 10th and 11th. I put all the links on the episode show notes, iamsaltlake.com/episode 61. So check that out. If you're up in the Ogden way, or you want to make a little trip up that way, check him out, get your tickets, and go check him out. Also, Wednesday nights is open mic night at Wise Guys. A lot of fun is had, and you can check him out there. And follow him on Facebook and Twitter. Connect with him and see what he is all about. I put all the links up at the episode 61 show notes. So with that being said, let's jump right into the conversation that I had with Steve and myself. He came in and shared his story, and hopefully you guys enjoy that. So here's my conversation with Steve Soelberg on the I Am Salt Lake podcast. So why don't we start in the beginning? I always like my guests to kind of introduce himself a little bit, tell who they are, and in your case, kind of how you got into stand-up comedy, doing stand-up.
Cool. I did start here in Salt Lake. I'm from Seattle.
Okay.
But I've lived in Salt Lake about 7 years now. And I started doing comedy at a company party. It was kind of a weird deal where somebody said, "Hey, will you do stand-up at our company party?" I've really no idea why they asked me to do it. And I was totally excited, so I did it, and it went well.
The response was good.
Which was ridiculous, because the first time you do stand-up, it's really pretty bad. I mean, for most people. Some people excel, but for me, in reviewing those jokes, I still have that sheet of jokes that I wrote out for the first time I did it, and I kind of looked at it and went,
"You're like, what the heck was I thinking?
This is awful." Yeah. There's racist stuff on there and just all sorts of stuff. I'm pretty sensitive as a comedian now, where a lot of comedians enjoy pushing the limits. I think I almost enjoy making people feel comfortable, instead of the opposite. Not that I respect both, but I think I love a comedian who can just make someone feel like, oh, I like that guy and I feel good and I laughed, Yeah.
So early on, I mean, as a young child, were you listening to comedians, or who were some of your very early inspirations, comedy wise?
I didn't listen to tons of comedians. I mean, early on, definitely, I loved Bill Cosby and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course, who didn't, right?
I mean, that's impossible not to, I think. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch, stand-up comedy just kind of came into my life when it did, on TV and stuff like that. And you'd go, oh, funny, cool. But I wouldn't, seek it out. As far as, comedic influences and stuff that I really, my dad was always a storyteller. And I loved to just hear him entertain.
Yeah.
If people would come over or whatever to the house, he'd always end up telling a story about, he works in construction, and he'd tell a story about the different construction workers he'd work with, and he'd do voices for like there was a guy from Tennessee and his name was Billy Joe, and Billy Joe from Tennessee. And it was just always this delight for me to watch him tell these stories because everybody just would be laughing, and I thought that looks fun.
Do you think that makes? Obviously, a good comedian is a good storyteller, but with a comedic twist to it, I guess.
I think so. I love this storyteller type of comedians, where Bill Cosby definitely is kind of a storyteller. I think of Mike Birbiglia as a storyteller comedian, and ultimately, I think I would love to sort of emulate that style as I get better at it.
So you were in Seattle. That's where you grew up in Seattle. Mm-hmm. And then what brought you to Utah then?
I actually came to Utah, not from Seattle, but from Hawaii.
Okay. Wow. There's a change of pace for you.
Yeah. It was a beautiful
What were you doing
place.
in Hawaii?
I went to school there.
Okay.
And so, when I finished school, I didn't know where I was going to go.
Yeah.
And I had a brother living in Logan, and he offered to have me live with him for free. And so I was like, well, I'm going to go to Logan. So I moved there and applied for jobs. I didn't really get anything good. I ended up working at a Fazoli's restaurant.
There you go.
Yeah, it was classy. It was. I had a moment where I was giving a breadsticks to this kid. He goes, "Is this what you do for your life?" And I was like,
How old was the kid?
He said he was 9.
No.
It was so embarrassing because I looked at him and I just went, well, yes, but I have a degree in molecular biology.
Blew his mind probably. And he's like, what's that?
What? And he just looked at me and he goes, well, what do I know? I'm 9. And I thought that was nice, but at the same time, I was just like, I got to get out of here.
So you came from Logan down to Salt Lake then?
Yeah. Ended up working at the University of Utah and then Myriad Genetics for a while.
Did you do any stand-up between the Seattle? You said you did it in Seattle and then you came to Utah. Were you doing anything in Logan? Or when did that kind of start?
I actually, oddly enough, started doing stand-up in Salt Lake here.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought in Seattle, or just for friends.
Just grew up in.
Oh, okay,
Seattle.
okay. For some reason, okay. My apologies.
Hey, no problem.
My apologies. So you started out in Salt Lake then?
Yeah. Which is I think people think it's a weird scene to start in. I think a lot of people don't go Salt Lake City. That's a hotbed of comedy. I think they think it's probably kind of dull here. But we have a great comedy scene here. Tons of comedians, tons of time. You can work. There's weeks where I could literally be on stage
every night.
Yeah, which you wouldn't think would happen in a small market like this, but it does.
So what got you on the stage for the first time then? And where was that at?
The first time was at Wise Guys open mic.
Open mic night.
And I invited...
Talk about that. What was the response like the very first time you got on stage? You were probably scared.
A little bit scared and a little bit like, I need to perform. I just love performing so much. Mm-hmm. And so I had done lots of stage stuff in college, like more acting and musicals and stuff like that. So once I got on stage, I was really happy. I just felt like
that's where you belong.
I'm at home again, And I had a bunch of friends in the audience, so it went really, really well, which it really shouldn't have gone as well as it did, again, because it's your first time and, nobody's hilarious their first time. The second time was different.
And what is Wise Guys gives you like 3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
For open mic. So that's all, but 3 minutes probably feels like 3 hours when you're up there.
You think it's way, way too long. And I just rushed through my 3. It seemed longer than 3, but it wasn't too bad. It felt great. I think you're a little bit delusional when you start out. Because
and again, approximately how long ago was that the very first time you got up on Wise Guys?
That was in January 2007.
Okay, so a little while ago.
A while ago, yeah. And I would just think every time I got on I went nuts that year. I was on stage every weekend the rest of the year in 2007, just trying to get as much time on stage as possible. And every time I remember I would just go home just smiling ear to ear and just, I was a comedian tonight, and it was so exciting and thrilling for me.
And were you performing at any other places besides Wise Guys, or are there other local places that you like to that you were performing at that time?
That first year, it was mostly Wise Guys. I would do like occasionally the owner at Wise Guys would have me like open for him at like a corporate event or something like that. But for the
is that a pretty big deal to get him to have you open for him?
Yeah, I remember thinking that was pretty huge.
Yeah,
and I was like super thankful and super like, okay, I'll be Johnny on the spot and on time, which I'm never on time. You noticed tonight.
It's all good.
Yeah. So it was exciting to do that, and I think that was a big thing. I found out that corporate events are more difficult than
what do you mean
comedy stage.
Just in what way?
People take a little bit more trepidation with them to the corporate event because they're sitting there with their boss and their coworkers, and I think they just kind of are. They're a little bit more buttoned up, instead of
a little more stiff.
Yeah. They just aren't ready to laugh right away at your first joke, but your third or fourth, if the first two land, then they'll start to laugh. What's
been like the overall, say, most challenging thing being a stand-up comedian, especially in Salt Lake City?
I think, we do have it kind of easy here. I think challenging would be probably some of the stuff that any comedian experiences is just writing new material.
Yeah.
And then,
do you get on the road at all? I mean, I know like a lot of comedians like to get out and travel, and being in Salt Lake, it's like the closest cities are so far away.
Right.
Versus, say, if you were to live on the East Coast or something like that. I mean, do you get out to Denver or Vegas or anything to perform, or have you done any of that yet?
I do travel a little bit, but not
really.
Not extensively. I mean, I'll do some stuff in Idaho.
Okay.
And Wyoming or something like that. I travel a bit with another job, and so with that, I get to
keeps you pretty busy.
Do some other stage time. Yeah.
So, what do you think makes a great comedian? What, in your opinion, what makes somebody sets them apart as in that great category?
I think. I mean, I love stuff that I haven't heard before. I never say his name right, but Kyle Kinae or whatever, Kinae. He did a joke about watching a guy eat pancakes out of a plastic bag on an airplane, which is such a weird subject. And it is kind of funny, the concept of someone bringing pancakes in a Ziploc bag. But he went on for 10 minutes.
Just about pancakes.
About pancakes on the plane. Yeah. And it was so funny. I just was laughing so hard. And I thought, that type of thing I love. Somebody to be able to create something. Everybody else has all the subjects. You go dating, you do the men and women, different type stuff. But to be able to take something that no one else has touched and first off, go there. There's a lot of people who there's comfort in going where someone else has gone. Even the bizarre subjects. Like, if I can think of a bizarre subject that seems popular right now.
Facebook.
I mean, Facebook's pretty popular. Yeah.
It's a bizarre subject, right?
It's super bizarre. Yeah. Something, and there's bizarre that's popular right now in making fun of Facebook or making fun of Twitter or making fun of, I can't think of anything. I'll come up with this as soon as we finish. But anyways, so for me, a good comedian, I guess, is somebody who's creative.
Yeah. Is
probably, for me, one of the paramount things.
Have you ever offended anybody with any of your jokes?
Yeah. And, I pretty sensitive.
You feel like you offend, or were they vocal about the offense? I'm just curious.
Oh, for sure. I'm a pretty nice guy. I had some guys who wanted to like fight me after a show one time. They were guys who were being loud. And I think maybe I was hosting the show.
Okay.
And when you're hosting the show, it is such an important thing to keep control.
So these guys wanted to fight you.
Yeah. Well,
were they like cowboys or something, or
they were? It was
just like jock guys, huh? Just
like a Latino gang looking group.
Okay.
I don't even remember what I said that was offensive to them, but I mean, I might have just told them to shut up.
Yeah.
And so it maybe wasn't even that much of a joke, as much as it was just trying to get them to stop what they were doing. And they were like, "Yeah, you offended us." But anyways, I remember somebody said they're waiting for you in the parking lot. And I was like, no one's going to fight me in the parking lot.
And were they waiting for you?
They were. So I went outside and just tried to talk it out. I was like, what's this all about? Are we seriously going to fight over me telling you to shut up? You knew you should have been quiet. And they really were cool about it. They were like, yeah, we should have. And it was kind of funny because I think everybody was like, whoa, Soelberg's going to get in a fight. He's going to get his trash kicked. And then nothing happened. And like everybody went home. You know, I think we even hugged at the end, which was a little funny.
That was cute. Probably,
yeah, it was adorable.
Yeah. So, I mean, the local Salt Lake comedy scene, I mean, who are some of your local favorites, right? I mean, we were talking about Jay Whitaker before we started recording. I I had him on the podcast.
Jay is hilarious. I love Guy. I think Guy is so quick-witted on stage. Right now, it seems like I don't hear him tell one joke that doesn't, like, everything is just hilarious.
Yeah.
Every joke hits hard. I mean, we have a lot of new guys that I love right now.
You see a lot of people kind of come and go in the comedy, in the local scene, where you'll see them on like a Wednesday night for 6 months and then they disappear and then they come back. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Do you see much of that or no?
Some people do disappear. Some people disappear for good. I mean, maybe.
They're like, oh, comedy's not my thing. I'm not going to be the next, famous comedian.
Which I admire that. Someone who has the ability to step back and go, oh, I'm going to go somewhere else in my life.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's like, you have control. Because I think a lot of people are somewhat addicted to it.
Yeah.
To that high of the laugh and stuff like that. But yeah, I think we don't have a ton of guys who leave. I'm trying to think of the other guys. Jackson Banks is really funny.
And I know it's tough to always be put on the spot. You don't want to leave somebody's name out or
right.
What I mean?
I do that too.
Yeah. Have they been pretty supportive? I mean, is there like with you as a comedian and with tips and suggestions and helping you out?
I think so. Yeah, there's a huge helping community.
Yeah.
Even with the comedians who are here and then comedians that I meet who come here. Or like visiting from LA or something, everybody's always like, oh, you should add this tag or do this or that thing for the end of the joke. So by and large, I've been impressed with comedians. I just think they're friendly people who are helpful. And the local community is almost, to a degree, almost too nice to me because right now I go to open mic and I tell a new joke and it might not even be that strong, but everybody laughs. I think in part because it's like, well, it's Steve, we like him. And so
they feel obligated to laugh.
Yeah, which I kind of almost don't want that,
Yeah.
It's helpful to have it be a little bit more difficult for you sometimes.
Where do you, when you're writing a joke, I mean, what, does it just kind of come to you or do you kind of play it out a little bit? Do you write it down? Or, I mean, is there a process to it?
Definitely. Yeah. The process, I think, at least for everybody, it's different. For me, I mean, I just write premises as they come, just throughout the day. Oh, this or that thing that you observe that's funny, or the thought that you have that's funny. And then I, pretty soon after premise stage, I try to see if I can have one or two punchlines, and I'll go and try it out on stage.
Yeah.
And if I usually know right away, if it's good, you get a good crowd response, and then your brain starts writing tags when you're on stage. Yeah. Adding a little line or whatever.
Do you ever just like kind of come up with a joke while you're on stage? I mean, just say you're telling something and it just kind of something else just kind of rolls out. And,
oh yeah.
And the next thing you know, you got a new joke.
I think I used to think for a small time I was like, I'm gonna go write exclusively on stage because I would get good things coming of it, and then. Lately, I've gone up a few times where it's like, okay, here, let's explore. And the exploration just ends up being really stupid. And I find that when I'm not prepared, I end up going to, just lame material that I'm never going to do again.
Yeah.
It's just like poop, fart stuff. And it's like, okay, I got to.
Do you think those jokes are played out, the poop, fart jokes?
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, if you can come up with an original one.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately...
Is there an original? I mean, it seems like they've all been done.
And I think you have to approach it from a unique angle. I'm sure they haven't all been done because I'm sure we'll hear more. But yeah, I avoid doing them because I once was on like the local Comcast on demand thing. They went to the comedy club and recorded us doing jokes. And I was doing a joke about scooting your chair and having it make a fart sound. And then you try to scoot the chair again to replicate that sound to prove that you didn't.
But that's always
pass
funny.
gas.
That's always funny.
Oh, man.
No matter when it happens, though, right?
Everybody loves, for some reason, that sound and just the whole concept of it. We love it. And but I was embarrassed when I saw myself on TV later, and like people I knew and respected were like, "Hey, I saw you on Comcast." And I was like, "Oh, crud! That means they saw
the fart joke,
my poop fart joke." So I dropped it.
So you got a show coming up May 10th and 11th at Wise Guys in Ogden, right?
Yeah.
Is this your first like headlining show, or have you done other?
I've headlined a few times. This will probably be, I think, my third headline up into Ogden, and I think maybe my 6th or 7th overall weekend. And Ogden is great. It's funny because they understand the stand-up comedy room and how it works.
What do you mean by that? What?
My first time going to comedy was at open mic.
Uh-huh.
And I think there's a degree of sort of getting used to someone being on stage and just telling you a joke.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why, but it is just something that you need to get a little bit used to. I don't know too many people who just go to comedy club the first time and immediately laugh out loud. Like, I think they kind of like look around a little bit and have to have other people laugh first, and then they allow
to see if it's okay.
Yeah.
The first time somebody laughed out loud at one of your jokes, I mean, did that just like blow you away? Like, say at Wise Guys or something?
Yeah.
Were you just like, oh my goodness, like?
And I get nerdy about it. I mean, I think I even wrote like a poem or something. Like when I went home, the first time I got a big laugh, something I was like, I spoke my voice into the. I don't remember the poem exactly, but it was something about speaking and feeling.
Yeah,
laughter hit me, and it was awesome. That first good big laugh that you get from somebody, is so fantastic. And when you're new, it's not nearly as big as it is when
you've been doing it a while.
Yeah, I'm 6 years in, and so it's better. I'm sure when I'm 10 years in, I hope it'll be even better.
So back to Wise Guys, May 10th and 11th. I'll put the links because you can order tickets online for it as well. Right. I'll put that on the IamSaltLake.com website, so if people listening can go check you out.
That would be fantastic.
And what is it, like 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock? What time?
I think the Ogden Club, they just do one show each night at 8 p.m.
Okay.
And that room, for some reason, it sells out pretty quick.
That's what I hear. I haven't been up there.
So, yeah, get tickets online is probably a safe bet.
Is it safe? Has there been any big names that you've opened for in the past or not yet?
I got to work with Rob Schneider last year, and then Kevin Nealon from SNL not too long ago.
I love Kevin Nealon. I didn't get to go to that show though. I was kind of bummed out.
Yeah,
but he's a great guy.
I love the dry humor, and he excels at it.
Yeah,
and is really quick-witted that way. And I think he's got such a good presence on stage. So it was fun to work with him and just see him in person backstage and talk with him that way as well.
So if there was, say, your dream person, your dream comedian, who would you love to open up for, past or present? I mean, they could even be dead.
Wow. A guy that I absolutely think is hilarious, who's not, as hugely famous as other guys. I think Chad Daniels is really funny.
I'm not familiar with him.
And everybody, so you'll have to look up Chad Daniels. He just cracks me up. And I haven't met him yet. And for some reason, I've just really took to his comedy for some reason.
Really? Chad Daniels, I'll have to check out.
Yeah.
Do you listen to, I know comedians are really big into the podcasting. There's a lot of, big comedians that have do you listen to any podcasts?
Right now, not a ton.
Yeah.
I listen to the main one that I probably is.
I'm just curious for my own suggestion here, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm always looking to listen to new podcasts.
Cashing In with TJ Miller.
Cashing In.
One I listen to.
Why does that ring a bell?
It's got Cash Levy and TJ Miller.
Okay. Yeah, but maybe I was listening to that recently.
You might have. Yeah. I listen to podcasts, and then I listen to Grumble Mountain, which is a local one by Cody Eden and Christian Piper.
Really, I haven't heard of it. Another local podcast that I haven't heard of. I'll have to take a listen. Grumble Mountain, huh?
Yeah, they do a good job.
I'll have to check it out.
I like listening to that.
What do they talk about? Is it comedians? Or?
They're both comics.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of just random subjects. I mean, it is comedy, but at the same time, it's also just whatever strikes those two as interesting, I suppose.
I'm always curious, people I bring on in Salt Lake City. I mean, obviously, I talk to a lot of Salt Lake City people on the podcast. Kind of some of their favorite things about living in the city, especially somebody like you who's come from Seattle, who's come from Hawaii. What do you like about Salt Lake, other than the comedy scene?
Sure. I mean, I think Salt Lake sits in a unique geography place. I mean, obviously, it's beautiful here. And so that's great. I love the mountains. But then also, like, culture-wise, I think we have more to offer than people realize.
Yeah.
I think because our next big city, like closest big city, is like Las Vegas or maybe even Boise. And Boise's not really a big city either. So I think we have a lot of, like, arts to offer. One of my friends does one of the gallery strolls I forget which Friday night. Now that I'm talking about it, I'm going to blank. But
that's all right.
I think it's the third. Either way, it's the gallery stroll, and just all the downtown Salt Lake galleries open up, and you can go and look, and some of the artists are there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. And there's a lot more like art to be offered. It seems like a lot of people, like I noticed on your fridge here, you got no farms, no food.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of like push for eating local and stuff like that here. I mean, when the summer time hits and the farmer's market opens up, and I try to always
Isn't it? It's great. I
up.
mean, Pioneer Park, the farmer's market is just, I love it.
It's fantastic.
It's one of my favorite things about the summer.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're eating so healthy, and it's great.
Is there anything else? I mean, with summer right around the corner, again, I'm excited about it. I'm sick of the cold.
Right. Right.
What else are you looking forward to this summer?
Probably, if I'm in town, the summer concert series that they do.
The Twilight one?
One.
Yeah, hopefully they get some good bands this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to stop by those.
Yeah,
and have a good time.
You got any good favorite local restaurants or anything? I always like to, again, kind of curious of places people like to eat. And
I mean, I am a big, huge food truck fan.
Aren't the food trucks? There's a lot of good ones here.
That is like my favorite.
Yeah.
Lewis Brothers Food Truck.
Yeah.
If you've ever been to that one.
Great food.
They are fantastic. And then I love the, what's that big yellow one?
Chow Truck?
The Chow Truck.
Yeah.
They always blow my mind.
Great food.
They're
actually catering for Bon Jovi.
Are they really?
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. I was like, oh my goodness, like they're going to cater for Bon Jovi. I mean, how awesome would that be?
That one is so delicious.
Yeah.
I had braised beef tongue from their Chow Truck on little tacos. And that's the first time I've ever had tongue. And,
was it good?
It was really
good. I mean,
good.
It sounds like it'd be kind of gross.
When you think about it, your brain, like, you can't think about it.
Yeah.
When you think of a cow.
But you just close your eyes and you eat it.
Yeah, you just shut your mouth.
You got another tongue in your mouth. You're just like, no.
No, and it's a cow. And there's a texture a little bit that, yeah.
Does it feel like it's licking your tongue a little bit or no?
Like you kind of, I think it was in my head, but there was one moment where I kind of gagged because I thought, I was like, did I just taste a taste bud?
Yeah.
Like I think it was in my head, but at the same time, Bento is another one. If you ever, I haven't tried them as often.
I haven't tried that one yet.
Bento's pretty good. And then there's one in Provo. I was doing a show down there.
The waffle, is it the waffle?
Oh my
Love?
Gosh, the waffle.
Yeah.
I
think it's called Waffle Love or something like
Waffle
that.
Love, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I haven't tried that one yet.
Unbelievable. They inject these waffles with like Nutella or chocolatey something. I don't know how they do it, but they're so good. So,
yeah, I'll have to check them out. I wonder why they don't come up here to Salt Lake,
I asked them
probably
that.
not worth the drive.
That was it. They said, we get a lot of business down here, so...
So besides comedy, I mean, what are some other things that keep you busy? Other hobbies and interests? A little bit about Steve here.
I do. I'm a runner.
Okay.
And so I
seems like everybody in Utah is a runner, though.
Yeah, a runner, a cyclist, or a rock climber.
Yeah.
If you're not doing one of those three, you better start. That's actually a thing. If you live here in Salt Lake City, probably start running, biking, or mountain climbing.
So you stay pretty busy running, and then you travel a lot with your job, right?
And that's like a part-time job thing that I do. I travel with, I'm an announcer for different races. So the Ragnar Relay series.
Wow. I got a coworker that's training for that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to, hopefully he'll make it, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
they're
quite intense.
Yeah.
It's a huge race. You get tired because there's the whole sleep deprivation thing.
Yeah.
But so I announce at a lot of their races at their start and finish line. And then I just started doing another one called the Zombie Run.
Yeah, that out at the is that the fairgrounds, or there is a zombie run down there, or what?
This one, they don't have a Salt Lake City race just yet. So they're looking at it, but
so down in Utah County.
This one is out of they're based out of Philadelphia.
Oh, so you fly out to Philadelphia for it?
Well, wherever they have it. Like I'll be in Louisville this weekend.
Oh, wow.
And then they're all over the
So do you
US.
dress up like a zombie then? And
I do.
And do all that stuff, or what?
I'm supposed to be the mad scientist who,
how'd you get hooked up with that? That sounds fantastic.
It's a blast. I've only done one so far, but I had a great time. That one also is kind of through Ragnar connections.
Yeah.
I was a previous race director for Ragnar who had me at their Philadelphia Ragnar and then said, I want you for my other races. So now I get to do this zombie thing.
We did a zombie walk. Well, they do it every year. I did a couple of them. Did you follow? Did you see any of that when they just, like a bunch of people just got dressed up and dressed up as zombies? I did it the very first year. And I think we scared the city of Salt Lake a little bit. It was like, I think it was 10 in the morning on a Sunday. And when I think it was somewhere out of the avenues, we came out and we just, a couple hundred people just dressed as zombies, just immersed the city. And I mean, it was a sight to be seen. I mean, it truly was.
It's hilarious. And I think it's the concept of dressing up that like helps people loosen up a little bit. Like that first race in Philly, we had like this huge dance party after the race, and everybody was just, I think people are a little bit less shy to dance and go crazy when they, for some reason, have fake blood all over them.
Well, who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
So back to comedy. I mean, where do you see yourself in 10 years? I mean, would you like to be doing it full time? I mean, I guess that would be false to say no. I mean, I'm sure every comedian would love to be a full-time comic.
I think everybody would, and I definitely would love to do it as well. I think what I've always told myself, I take my cue from a guy, Keith Stubbs, who runs Wise Guys. He said, I know my show is good when it is something that I would pay for. And so
I like that.
That's what I want to get to, is where I currently think my show is good, and I really think it needs to be great or even excellent to do it full time.
So you wouldn't pay for one of your shows?
Not yet.
Not yet. And we're supposed to be promoting your show.
I know.
In
I'm
May,
ridiculous.
Right? Yeah.
I knock myself a little bit. I give myself a hard time, but because people, when they leave my shows, they go, that was great. And in my head, when they say it's great, that means it's good.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you'd say to a person after a show, hey, that sucked. I think you'd typically, even if it was bad, you go, good job.
Yeah. Pat you on the back.
Yeah.
And leave you a nice Facebook comment or something.
Yeah. And so I think when they say it's great, in my head, I go, that means it's good. Yeah. And so if I have somebody who goes, that just blew my mind. That was so funny. Like, I've never seen anything that funny. That to me would be, okay, now I'm great. Now I could do this. And so I'm if I can get to where I can write material consistently that funny and to get that creative and get that, the whole wow factor, then I would definitely consider doing it full time. So right now it is still part-time.
But you're having fun with it. And,
it's such a blast.
It's a blast. And again, what you're on YouTube, which I'll put the links on the I Am Salt Lake show notes for this episode, so people can go watch your videos on there. How else can people get in touch with you?
YouTube, Twitter. My handle is just at Steve Soelberg.
Okay.
And then just Facebook. I still use that medium. I make jokes about not liking Facebook, but I use it a ton.
Facebook's a great way to promote yourself, though. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
And it connects people. I have a website that should be out in about 2 months.
Okay.
2 or 3 months, and then I'll get an
we'll
email
keep an eye
sign-up
out for
list.
that,
Yeah.
and maybe bring you back on. I appreciate you coming on and talking, just because, again, finding out about another local comedian here in Salt Lake, kind of finding out their story and finding out a little bit about them. One last question. What's your all-time favorite movie?
I love a movie called The Power of One.
The Power of One.
It's ridiculous because it's super sad, but
see, I was expecting some great comedy.
Yeah, I know.
Come on,
I know.
like Spaceballs.
I love a super sad movie based in Africa. As far as comedies, I mean, I just love Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, that's a classic.
I mean, I think everybody does. But yeah, The Power One's probably my favorite. Dumb and Dumber. And then another one that, if you're like a sci-fi biology nerd, Gattaca is fantastic.
That's a great.
That's in my
You gotta
top
watch
3.
that. You gotta watch that. Well, I appreciate you coming on again, May 10th and 11th at the Wise Guys in Ogden.
Yeah, it'll be hilarious.
I definitely recommend everybody to go check that out. And are you on at most open mics and on Wednesdays or?
Yeah. I'm typically at the Wise Guys on Wednesdays, and then just
kind of out and about and around. Follow you on Twitter and Facebook. See where you're going to be performing next. Anything else you want to add before we close out here? Or
I hope I wasn't too boring.
No, you were great. I always love meeting new people and getting to know them and finding out their story.
Well, thanks.
You were great to have on the show. Thank you very much. Many thanks goes out to Steve Soelberg for coming on the show today and sharing his story on his path of being a stand-up comedian and performing here live in Salt Lake City. Don't forget his show, May 10th and 11th. Check that out at Wise Guys in Ogden. Again, the links for that are at iamsaltlake.com/episode 61. There's a few ways you can help out the show. You can help out many ways, actually. You can help out the show. Follow me on Twitter. I am Salt Lake on Twitter. That's just twitter.com/IamSaltLake. I'm on Facebook, facebook.com/IamSaltLake. Make sure to follow me on Facebook. I've been doing some recent giveaways. Well, doing some giveaways with Zag, big supporters of the show. So thank you very much, Zag, for your support. I'm going to be giving away some Zag products, gift cards, all kinds of fun Zag items. So check that out. Follow me, facebook.com/IamSaltLake. Share the page with your friends so they can check us out. Any retweets and stuff is much appreciated as well. iTunes reviews are much appreciated. Hop on over. The link is on the website. Hop on over to iTunes. Leave us a review. That really helps the rankings on iTunes, helps boost us up and get us in front of more people. That way more people could check out the show. The voicemail line is 385-202-5926. If you have any events you want me to promote, anything you want me to share with the rest of the listeners, I got 2 shows going up a week, so it should be pretty, help out in the city and let people know what's going on and get the word out there. Again, the voicemail is 385-202-5926. There is a PayPal donation button. $1 or $2 goes a long ways in helping keep the podcast alive. So thank you very much for the people that have been supporting that way. Many thanks goes out to you guys. And again, to Zag, check them out, zag.com. I have links on the website. That way you can click that and do your shopping through Zag, and they kick a few nickels my way. And that helps out the podcast as well. So that's going to do it for episode 61 with Steve Soelberg. Thank you very much to you, the listener, for your support. And I'll be back midweek with another episode showcasing somebody else in Salt Lake City that's doing something really, really awesome. Thank you very much. You guys have a great night.